This was a study that evaluated novel BTK inhibitor in mantle cell lymphoma. This was a phase 2 study. It was international and looked at patients who had received at least 2 lines of prior therapy. Acalabrutinib is a novel BTK inhibitor that is more selective to the BTK enzyme and thus theoretically has less off-target effects and is a more potent inhibitor of BTK compared to ibrutinib based on preclinical work. This study looked at 142 patients and was a single-arm study and showed an overall response rate of over 80% and a CR rate of 40%, which compares favorably to ibrutinib. However, I would caution everyone that this was not a comparative study to ibrutinib, and importantly in exclusion criteria, any cardiac issues or patients who had received prior BTK or PI3K inhibitors were excluded from the study. So the data as to whether or not this can be used after ibrutinib is currently unclear. The overall response rate was 81% with a high CR rate of 40%. The side effect profile of acalabrutinib did appear to be slightly different than ibrutinib. However, there were cytopenias noted, as seen also with ibrutinib, as well as AST, ALT abnormalities. Given that this is early follow-up and a relatively small population to which we see with ibrutinib at this time, further follow-up is necessary to identify whether this is truly better, both in terms of toxicity and efficacy, to ibrutinib. Currently, there are no head-to-head studies comparing the two, and the question that also remains is whether or not these drugs can be used after the other in sequence.